History is full of giants. We all know about the Romans, the Egyptians, and the Vikings. Their stories are carved into stone and written in countless books. But what if I told you about an empire that was just as powerful, just as wealthy, and yet almost completely forgotten? This is the story of Srivijaya, a ghost empire that vanished from the world's memory for centuries. It was a maritime superpower that held sway over the seas of Southeast Asia, a kingdom built on water, trade, and incredible riches. Its name was once whispered with awe from China to India, yet today it remains one of history's most compelling and elusive mysteries. Imagine a kingdom without a capital city as we know it. There are no grand stone ruins like Rome's Colosseum or Cambodia's Angkor Wat to mark its center. Srivijaya was a water world, a civilization that lived and thrived on the rivers and coasts of Sumatra. Its people were masters of the sea, their homes built on rafts and stilts, rising and falling with the tides. This unique way of life made them incredibly adaptable and mobile, but it also meant they left behind a very faint footprint on the land. When the empire faded, it was as if it dissolved back into the water from which it came, leaving future historians with a puzzle that has taken centuries to piece together. The first clues to this forgotten world didn't come from ancient ruins, but from the writings of others. Chinese monks, Arab merchants, and Indian scholars all wrote about a mighty kingdom in the south, a place they called the Island of Gold. They described a land of incredible wealth, a hub of international trade where ships from across the known world gathered to exchange their goods. These texts were like echoes from the past, pointing to the existence of a major power that controlled the vital shipping lanes of the Malacca Strait. For a long time, historians struggled to even locate Srivijaya on a map, unsure of where this legendary kingdom had truly been based. Slowly, painstakingly, the picture began to form. By studying these ancient accounts and cross-referencing them with archaeological finds, a lost chapter of history started to be rewritten. The heart of this maritime empire was located around the Musi River, near the modern-day city of Palembang in Sumatra, Indonesia. This wasn't just another kingdom, it was a thalassocracy, an empire of the sea. Its power didn't come from conquering vast territories of land, but from controlling the water itself. The story of Srivijaya is a powerful reminder that history is not just about what is remembered, but also about what has been lost and is waiting to be rediscovered. For centuries, the most valuable goods in the world, spices, silks, porcelain, and fragrant woods traveled along perilous sea routes connecting east and west. This was the maritime Silk Road. At its heart lay the Strait of Malacca. This narrow channel was the ultimate bottleneck every ship had to navigate. Whoever controlled this strait controlled immense wealth. Srivijaya rose to power, becoming the undisputed master of this maritime highway. They were the gatekeepers, taxing every vessel that passed through their waters. Srivijaya's dominance was not just luck or geography, it was built on sophisticated control. The empire established a network of ports along the coasts of Sumatra, Java, and the Malay Peninsula. These weren't just simple docks, they were bustling, cosmopolitan centers of commerce. Here, merchants from China could trade their delicate silks and ceramics for fragrant Indian spices, Arabian incense, and exotic animal products from the deep jungles of Borneo. Srivijaya acted as the great intermediary connecting disparate worlds and took a handsome cut building its treasury on the currents of global trade. The empire's relationship with China was key to its success. The Chinese emperors saw Srivijaya as a crucial and reliable partner. Srivijayan envoys regularly sailed to the imperial court in China, bearing incredible gifts of ivory pearls and rare woods. In return, the Chinese recognized Srivijaya's authority over the southern seas. This powerful alliance ensured a steady stream of Chinese merchant ships laden with priceless goods. Life in a Srivijayan port would have been an incredible assault on the senses. The air, thick with aroma of cloves and sandalwood mingling with salt of the sea. You would hear a dozen languages sailors from Persia, India, and China haggling with local traders. The docks piled high with goods from every corner of the known world, gleaming porcelain bowls, bolts of vibrant silk, sacks of pepper and nutmeg, and intricate jewelry. It was a true melting pot, a globalized city built on water, all orchestrated by shrewd rulers who had turned the sea itself into their greatest asset. Srivijaya wasn't just rich from trade, it was a land of gold. Ancient texts from India and the Middle East referred to Sumatra as Suvarnadvipa, the island of gold, and for good reason. The island's rivers washed down alluvial gold from the volcanic mountains in its interior, and the rulers of Srivijaya controlled its source. They hoarded this precious metal, using it to create stunning statues, intricate jewelry, and ceremonial objects that showcased their immense power and divine status. Gold was more than just currency. It was a symbol of their celestial connection and their earthly might, dazzling foreign visitors and cementing their reputation as one of the wealthiest kingdoms in the world. The culture of Srivijaya was deeply intertwined with Buddhism. The empire became a major center for Mahayana Buddhist learning, attracting scholars and pilgrims from all over Asia. The famous Chinese monk Yi Jing, on his way to India in the 7th century, chose to stop in Srivijaya for several years to study Sanskrit and translate Buddhist texts. He wrote that the kingdom was home to over 1,000 monks and that its level of scholarship was as high as in India itself. Srivijayan rulers sponsored the construction of monasteries and temples, not just in their own lands but also abroad, spreading their religious and cultural influence far and wide. The Srivijayan navy was the instrument of its power, and it was unlike any other. Their ships, known as jong, were massive vessels capable of carrying hundreds of people and tons of cargo, but their most fearsome weapon was something truly extraordinary: war elephants on ships. Imagine the terror of pirates or rival sailors as they saw these giant beasts, symbols of royal power, being transported across the water to crush any opposition. This unique military tactic would have been a powerful psychological tool, demonstrating that the reach of the Srivijayan king extended over both land and sea, an unstoppable force that commanded the respect of all who sailed these waters. This combination of immense wealth, religious authority, and military might made Srivijaya a true superpower of its age. The king was seen not just as a ruler, but as a bodhisattva, an enlightened being who had chosen to remain on earth to guide his people. This divine status gave him absolute authority. The gold, the trade, the religion, and the navy were all pillars supporting this central figure. The empire was a complex and sophisticated system, with the king at its heart, controlling the spiritual and material wealth of a kingdom that floated on the very arteries of global commerce, a golden empire built on the waves. For over 600 years, Srivijaya seemed invincible, a permanent feature of the Southeast Asian world. Its wealth was legendary, its navy feared, and its influence stretched across the seas. Yet, by the 14th century, this mighty empire performed one of history's greatest vanishing acts. It simply disappeared from the records. The bustling ports fell silent, the powerful navy faded away, and the name Srivijaya was gradually forgotten, erased from the world's memory. There was no single cataclysmic event that we can point to, no final battle that marked its end. Instead, the empire seemed to slowly and quietly decline, like a great ship sinking into the abyss without a trace. What could possibly bring down such a formidable power? Historians believe it was likely a combination of factors: a death by 1,000 cuts. The empire's wealth depended entirely on its control of the sea lanes. As other rival kingdoms in the region, like the Cholas in India and the Javanese kingdoms of Singhasari and later Majapahit, grew stronger, they began to challenge Srivijaya's monopoly. A devastating naval raid by the Chola dynasty in 1025, for instance, severely wounded the empire, even though it managed to survive. These repeated attacks would have weakened its military and disrupted the flow of trade that was its lifeblood. Another crucial factor could have been the very environment that gave Srivijaya its power. The rivers, like the Musi River in Sumatra, were constantly depositing silt, gradually making the kingdom's main ports shallower and harder for large ocean-going ships to access. A port that was once deep and strategic could, over a century, become a muddy, unusable swamp. This slow, creeping environmental change may have literally choked the empire, forcing trade to move to new, deeper harbors outside of Srivijayan control. The water that had given birth to the empire may have, in the end, become its undoing. The final blow seems to have been the rise of its powerful neighbors. The Majapahit Empire, based on the neighboring island of Java, expanded aggressively in the 14th century, absorbing many of Srivijaya's former territories. At the same time, the kingdom of Siam, modern-day Thailand, was growing in the north, and the arrival of Islam was beginning to change the political and religious landscape of the entire region. Squeezed from all sides, its trade routes dwindling and its ports silting up, the once great Srivijaya was likely broken apart, its territories absorbed by these new rising powers. the Golden Empire had finally lost its glitter, fading into a historical footnote. For centuries, the story of Srivijaya was locked away, not in dusty archives, but at the bottom of a river. The Musi River in Sumatra, which once cradled the heart of the empire, became its tomb. As the kingdom declined, its treasures, artifacts, and the remnants of its daily life were swallowed by the murky water and thick mud. Local fishermen for generations would occasionally pull up strange and wonderful objects in their nets: shimmering gold rings, intricate bronze statues, and colorful ceramic beads from a world long gone. They called these finds the river treasure, whispers of the Golden Kingdom that once ruled these waters. Today, this search has become a modern-day treasure hunt, led by maritime archaeologists and daring local divers. Equipped with basic diving gear, these explorers plunge into the dark, crocodile-infested waters of the Musi River, visibility often near zero. They feel their way along the riverbed, sifting through layers of mud and sand with their bare hands. It is dangerous, painstaking work, but the rewards are incredible. They are bringing the lost empire of Srivijaya back to the surface, one artifact at a time. Each discovery, whether it's a magnificent gold sword hilt or a simple clay pot, is a tangible link to this forgotten world. These underwater discoveries are completely reshaping our understanding of Srivijaya. Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of artifacts, from fine Chinese porcelain dating back to the Song dynasty, to elegant gold jewelry and Buddhist ceremonial objects. They have found tools, coins from across Asia, and even parts of ancient boats. Together, these items paint a vivid picture of a cosmopolitan and incredibly wealthy society. They confirm the ancient stories of a global trading hub and a center of great artistic and religious production. The river is acting as a time capsule, preserving the material culture of an empire that left almost no ruins on land. The search continues, and the mystery is far from solved. Every new artifact pulled from the river adds another piece to the puzzle of Srivijaya. It's a story that feels incredibly alive, as history is literally being brought to light from the depths. The forgotten empire is slowly re-emerging, not as a ghost, but as a real, vibrant civilization that played a crucial role in shaping the world we know today. The divers of the Musi River are not just searching for gold, they are recovering a lost memory, ensuring that the great maritime empire of Srivijaya will not be forgotten again.